So yesterday during the opening ceremony for QuakeCon, it was announced that to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Doom, that the original 3 games, Doom, Doom 2, and Doom 3, would be coming to the Nintendo Switch, as well as the PS4 and Xbox One, but myself, and I'm sure many of you, were most interested in the Switch version. And yeah, many went and immediately grabbed the games to play, and when they launched them, players were greeted with this message. Log into your BNet account. Oh, you thought just because these games, 2 of them at least, were decades old, that you'd be able to just download and play them without some additional DRM you have to sign up for and agree to all these policies along with it? This quickly, it actually surprised me how quickly and how big this blew up. Doom was a trending topic on sites like Twitter, but not because people were hyped about playing these classic games, or perhaps excited over new details concerning the upcoming Doom Eternal. No, it was because of this DRM, and how stupid so many people felt it was, needing to have this included, and again, these games that were so old. Of course, Switch owners were the most concerned, as they often play games completely offline, as when you're on the go, you're obviously typically not in the range of an internet signal, so they were worried about not being able to access the games at all if they were outside the range of a Wi-Fi connection. Now first, let me discuss that and some of the positives about this release before I lay into it. In terms of this DRM, from my experience, on the Switch at least, it is a one-time check. So if you make an account, verify it with an email, that whole deal, and log into that account on the Switch, you're good to go. Actually, I think if you just do this on one of the games, it becomes automatic on the other 2 as well. And yeah, you'll be able to play the 3 games without an internet connection, which would have been major BS on the Switch, right? If you couldn't do that, use the Switch's major feature. And not only that, not only could you not use it, but in the newer Doom games, you could play them offline. So yeah, that seems to be the case. But I have seen videos, and I don't know if these are on other platforms or something, but I have seen videos of people having these quick interrupts. There was one video on Twitter, it was like every 7 seconds or so, the guy was getting a pop-up like, oh, you lost connection, connect back, and then it would quickly go away and then flash up again. And I saw some other people stating that they couldn't get the accounts to sync, like they couldn't get their Bethesda net account to link up with whatever version they were on, which means if you couldn't do that, you couldn't play these games at all, these games that you've already paid for. So while my issues with it have been minimal, I will note that I've seen other people have some pretty significant problems. But let's talk about the ports themselves a bit. On the Switch in particular, they seem to play pretty well. I definitely think there's some issues with the music, at least in Doom 1 and 2. I noticed the music definitely seems off, which is kind of a shame. Doom 3, I'm pretty surprised at how well that game holds up, honestly. I feel like it did get kind of a bad rap when it came out because, they went for more of this survival horror-esque vibe in an attempt to just, kind of rebrand the series, I guess. Gameplay is much slower. You're creeping around through these dark hallways, oftentimes needing a flashlight to light the way. You contrast that with the rest of the series being about cruising through these sprawling areas and blasting through tons of demons at a rapid pace. And yeah, it doesn't fit. It wasn't bad at what it did. Again, it just didn't feel like Doom. I think that was its biggest problem. I hope more people do give that one a chance. I really do. And how about the price of these bad boys? $5 each in the US for Doom 1 and 2, and $10 for Doom 3. In terms of pricing for retro games, this is exactly what I like to see. Even though I had just bought 2 other games the same day, these were such great prices that I was basically like, why not? That's how it should be. Capcom, are you listening? These older games should be impulse buys. It's akin to buying candy while checking out at the grocery store. Not something I have to dwell on and think about, oh, am I gonna get the value out of it because they're so pricey? So I can say that at least. Good on you with the price, Bethesda. But it's still tainted by this pesky DRM. You couldn't help yourselves, could you? As any of you who follow my channel already know, I can't stand this crap. That's why, a big part of why, at least, I'm a big physical player. I try to buy games physically whenever possible. And, the future, the whole draw of these digital games is supposed to be, making accessing my games easier. And these companies, it's like they just keep getting in their own way. Like, we already have a Nintendo account tied to this game. Like if you bought it off the eShop, it's tied to that account. So in a way, it already isn't yours. Not like a physical game at least. But this just adds another layer to it. And again, for these games, so ridiculous. Now, can you argue it's not that big of a deal? Of course, especially, if you had a situation similar to mine, like I just made this email, linked everything up, and it just worked. Now, again, I've seen videos and images of other people seeming to have way more issues than me, so I'm definitely not going to say it's like this for everyone. But yeah, in concept, you can just create like a burner email to link this garbage. I already have one that I always use just for this junk and not for anything else. And if you do end up having to do this once and you're good, yeah, it's not too much hassle. But like I said, some are having more issues with it. And even on the Switch, I'll say after you've gone through all these appropriate steps, the game will still bug you about connecting back, like in the menus and stuff, like, hey, you're using airplane mode? Make sure to turn it off when you can. So even in the optimum situation, it's still not so optimal. And how about we argue the inverse a little bit? Maybe this isn't such a big deal for players, but how necessary was this for Bethesda? Why do these games, of all games, need DRM? I mean, these versions don't offer any sort of online play. And think about it, in the case of Doom 1 and 2, these are games that people were sharing back in the day on floppy disks. Yes, as in the format that is so old, I bet many of you watching this have never used one in your lives. They're ancient. But nope, we gotta slap that BNet crap on there. I'd like to add in here to Bethesda, not only how necessary was it, but was it worth it? Was it worth this backlash? I mean, yeah, we're celebrating a big anniversary for Doom. You stealth released these ports. They're of alright quality, like I say. I love the price. I'd say for the price of what you're paying, I'd say the value is there. Doom should have been trending because people were hyped to get their hands on this hit of nostalgia. Could have been a great jumping on point for people who aren't familiar to the series to learn why it has become this household name, and a way to hold people over until Doom Eternal drops later this year, but you had to shove the BNet garbage into it. And you got this. Immense backlash. The main talking point about this game on forums, news sites, everywhere is over this DRM, and that will undoubtedly sour many who were on the fence about picking these games up, or were maybe even fully intending to, and now after seeing these issues, they're not going to bother with it. Now, personally, from my experience, I'd still recommend these games, given the quality you're getting here for the price. What I had to deal with, I didn't think the BNet login was so intrusive that it ruined the experience or anything. But again, I've seen other people have more issues, and even if other people weren't having these other issues, that still doesn't mean I'd forgive it either. All the negativity they're getting is also well-deserved in my opinion. And if you don't want to buy the game because of this, whether you don't want to deal with it, or you just don't want to support a game with this type of DRM nonsense needlessly slapped onto it, I don't blame you. And especially on the Nintendo Switch. On this system, releasing classic games should be such easy money. I mean, millions of players are on this system waiting to buy versions of these types of titles that they can play both on the TV or on the go, and it astounds me. Like, I'm truly shocked at how often these companies manage to screw up these releases, especially like Doom 1 and 2, games from the 90s. These releases should have been a layup. But yeah, they just can't help themselves. They need to try to get more access to you, monitor you, get your email addresses, all that stuff. Well, once more, I hope it was worth it, having this major blight on what should have been a widely praised release. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the Doom DRM in the comments. Is it a turnoff for you, or do you feel like it's not really that big of a deal? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the recently released Doom games and their DRM. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter, @JohnnyZakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.